This is Lewis Hart for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store. Always delighted to be joined with Adam Smith on a nice Thursday afternoon. Yeah, it's been a quiet month for boxing. Not much been going on, but other than that, how's things, mate? How's everything been with you?
I'm very good. I've just had a really nice time in America on holiday. I feel refreshed, recharged, and like you, probably ready to go in September because September looks extremely busy. We've got a big show at the end of the month for GBM after the one of the biggest shows of recent months in AJ Dubois at Wembley Stadium with that terrific supporting list of fights as well. It's a fantastic night. Of course, October 12th and December the 21st. Those three big sort of prongs in the boxing calendar. But I think also the fights in between those are going to be great too. We're really excited about the Sheffield Bonanza on the 27th of September, which I'm sure we'll talk about. Fantastic at GBM's best show yet, I believe. So we're really excited about our autumn and winter ahead. And then there's so much else as well. I don't know, Wasserman have got shows, Matchroom have got shows, Boxer have got shows. So it's not just what's happening in Saudi. And I really believe that actually this period, although August traditionally is quiet, I think without the Jack Catchall Regis Prograis fight, which has been postponed, and one or two other things, it didn't sort of happen maybe the end of August like we thought it would. But we have got Inoue in a few days' time, and of course. September 21st and onwards. But I think those 3 months between the AJ and the Fury bookends are going to be packed, absolutely packed with domestic fights, and everyone's going to be looking to get out again. And I think you're going to be a busy boy, Lewis. I think you're going to be running here, there, and everywhere. I think on the weekend we've got September 27th. There's a show, a Wasserman show that night as well. I think the 28th was Sheffield for Matchroom. They're going to move it. So lots happening, even that's just one week. And then you look at October the 4th, 5th. There's so much going on. And we've got fighters at Summit too, like Carl Davis and Araldo, Sophie Ali, out in that period. So there's other shows up and down the country. And almost every weekend is going to be busy for you and me. So that's good though, eh?
Yeah, definitely. We can't complain at all. Before we do get into, I guess, boxing talk, actually, you mentioned about obviously GBM returning to familiar face in Sheffield. There is also, in wilder world news, we see Oasis returning. I guess for yourself, Al, that is, for me, it was actually, believe it or not, like I was a little bit too young for their prime. But I'm sure you must remember it very well. So I don't know if you're big of a fan of their stuff, mate, but that's a massive story as well.
Fabulous story, wonderful, brilliant, excellent. Love the brothers. Got to not spend time with them, but certainly was around the vicinity when Ricky Hatton was at his pomp, and had them both in the ring at times. And Oasis are just absolutely legendary band. I think that they're great. I love sort of rock and roll. I grew up on rock and roll with the likes of Berry, Jerry Lee Lewis, Little Richard, way before your time, Lewis.
Yeah, definitely.
I went into a sort of psychobilly phase as well, but I think just great bands. I've always loved the Beatles, the Stones. I think Oasis of modern times stand out. So the fact they're back together and there's an opportunity to go see them live is terrific. They have 15 years apart or something, and I think I'm not a massive music fan. I like my music, but I'm not a sort of diehard. But I heard the whispers about a week and a half ago, and it's great to read it when it came out, and it'd be fantastic. It's gonna be a fantastic time for British music, sport, everything. It should give everybody a lift that.
Yeah, for sure. I guess as we say, from one return to another, GBM return to Sheffield, 27th of September. We was just speaking a little bit off camera there, and I think it's fair to say, arguably one of the best cards that Izzy's put on so far. Some real decent fights all the way through the card, and added with obviously Maxi Hughes as well, who recently boxed George Kambosos and boxed William Zepeda as well. So some interesting fights on in Sheffield.
Look, I've been a broadcaster for many years, Lewis. I obviously push our stuff at Sky and things like that. But now I'm the promoter's side, I can have a bit of fun. And I'll say it's not one of the best cards Izzy's put on. It's the standout card that GBM have put on yet. I think GBM are growing. I think the momentum is fantastic. It's been a wonderful year. We've had some really good shows. We've had some really good prospects come out. Some great 50-50 fights, some 55-45 fights, great entertainment, fantastic atmosphere at shows. I think Izzy's growing as a promoter, the team behind him, a fantastic young creative. They're like you, they know the sport, they love it, and the output has been fantastic from a social point of view, especially. I think everyone's enjoying coming to a GBM show. So yeah, September the 27th at the Cannon Arena is going to be electric. On DAZN as well, second show on DAZN, but I think this is the big one for us. It's our big, we're seeing it as our big shop window really for the whole of British boxing. I think that it's a shame the Dalton Smith fight's not happening the next night, because then everybody in Sheffield. But hey, that leaves the attention on us up there in the northwest. Shaq Thompson headlining again. One of the best middleweights in the country, no doubt. Could he go on to become one of the best in the world? He's tall, he's powerful, he's got an awkward style, he's exciting, and he's in with River Wilson Bent. He literally cried out for that fight. So there's needle, there's spice. It was a really nasty head-to-head. And when I saw River after he fought in Coventry, he came up to me and said, "Adam, I want him. Tell him I want him. I'm coming for him." And so there's already that. I love stories. Then I've got on a plate, I've got Reece Mould and Ryan Walsh. It's fabulous. And Ryan was just playing with him psychologically and that head to head. And both of them are fantastic, champions. They've had their setbacks, but they're going to go at it again. It's a real pick 'em, a real 50-50. That could steal the show. And then we've got this really lovely build up with Tycee Gallagher and Tori Ellis-Willits as the sort of the third main event. It's like a trio of treats, this, Lewis. It's fantastic. And that fight, Tycee, she's had a lot of experience already in the pros. That great win over Stevie Levy at York Hall on a fantastic night for her. She's got those titles, and Tori Ellis is just so confident that she's a level above Tycee, and she's been trying to get under her skin, and that's building beautifully as well. You put Hughie Fury on in a decent fight, which is great, because I really want to see whether Hughie can get into this Saudi mix. Martin Bakoli has now jumped way ahead of him. There's others that are flying. Moses Atama, what a wonderful win the other night. Couldn't even touch Joe Parker next. All of that. Hughie's got a real opportunity now. I don't think he's even 30, Lewis. So he's got a real chance. A few years ahead of him, but he's got to start really performing and shining. And we need to see some big statements from Hughie Fury. So I really want to see that on September the 27th. As you mentioned, Maxie Hughes, terrific to have him back. Izzy got him on the phone at the press conference. I wanted a spot as well alongside Jack Bates and all the other guys. Amir Akbar making his GBM debut for us as well. Ed Hardy, really hearing some hot things about him. The farm boy, great amateur. Used to mix it with Adam Azim. Really exciting star in Grant Smith's Steel City factory, which is a hot one. It used to be on the other side at Winker Bank, and now it's the hottest show in town, doesn't it? Grant's guys and girls with Chantal and everyone there. So yeah, I'm really liking this show on September the 27th. When I joined Izzy a few months ago, it was great. There was some good stories. There were some nice fights, and now I think we've got a really engaging lineup from top to bottom of prospects, of talents, a few home favourites, crowd favourites, and then we've got these fights which could go either way. So when I'm looking at the October 12th card, which I'm sure we'll come on to, and that's had some criticism, I'm sitting here more as a promoter now, saying, hang on a minute, there's some amazing stuff going on that, because I know how difficult it is at GBM to put even these fights on. Reece Mould and Ryan Walsh are taking a huge risk. The losers really got nowhere to go. It's a crossroads fight. Shaq Thompson defending an unbeaten record. He's still working. He's still working 9 to 5 in another job outside of boxing. These are real stories, and one or two of these want that opportunity that, I don't know, a Mark Chamberlain's had, or a Liam Cameron's getting, or a Jack Massey. They want these opportunities, and they see what's happening around the world with Riyadh season, and they're thinking, come on, we've got to impress. So I actually, it doesn't need any selling September the 27th, but I'm only saying it because everyone's going to be talking about AJ Dubois, and rightfully so, and that huge card. And the week after, there's a Wasserman show. I think there's going to be a Matchroom show.
Yeah.
there's a lot going on. Don't forget DAZN September 27th from Sheffield, because I think even if maybe you haven't heard, or some of the casuals won't know some of these names, you know Hughie Fury, obviously Maxi Hughes, but
Yeah.
some of these guys, the Ed Hardys, the Amir Akbars, maybe they don't know the Muhammad Ali as well on it. There's a lot of great potential on this card, but I think the main 3-4 fights are going to be absolutely fantastic. So best yet, I'm hoping it proves it in reality. You never know. You've still got, what, 4 weeks? You know, you don't know whether fights are going to fall through. There's always the risk you take. But we've got so much on that show that it's, you know, even if you did lose one, it's a great, great card. And I hope DAZN and Mike Ridout and the team love what GBM are doing. You know, it looks good. The fighters are enjoying it. Yeah, we're really, really excited. And we've got a lot of work to do. And it's tough because everyone's going to be talking about September 21st at Wembley. So we've got to sort of find our way and make people aware of what's happening. But yeah, we'll do that. And the team are ready. And it's going to be a fantastic September build up to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you just sold it there to me, Adam. But yeah, as you mentioned there, you mentioned about October 12th. And I guess it's right that we do move on to that. And you mentioned about the criticism, which I was going to get onto. So yeah, about this time last week, the undercard for Beterbiev Bivol, which is obviously a tremendous fight that we'll get onto. The undercard got announced. And it did come with like mixed observations. I think a lot of people were very happy with it, but some sort of critical of the matchups. Some saying, you know, barely any 50-50s on the card. Obviously, Wardley Clarke being the main one that everyone was buzzing to see it on. But yeah, there's been a few criticisms of it, of certain fights. But yeah, I guess you're sort of in the band of not understanding the criticism, I'd say.
Not really. You tell Raven Chapman she hasn't got a chance, and you'll get a left hook. I think that people are being really hard. I think that the bar has been set very high by the Saudis. Obviously, they've come in and they've made these fantasy fights happen. The reality is, as a broadcaster on Sky, it's very, very hard to continually make 50-50 or even 55-45 fights. Frank Warren was an absolute genius, probably the best promoter I've ever seen at building a fighter's career up. You just can't keep doing that. They need an acid test. They need the British, the Commonwealth, the European. That used to be the traditional route, or you get that one that Ricky Hatton had before he fought Costas Hugh. Really, really tough fight in London about 5-6 months, I think, before he fought Costas Hugh against Ray Oliveira, and it was a tough opponent and the perfect sort of, you know, build up to that. Was he going to beat Oliveira? Yes. It wasn't really a 50-50 fight, but it got him ready for Costas Hugh. It's very, very difficult for promoters, for managers, for fighters, for everyone to get it right. I think we've got to take a step back here. We've got to say it's been brilliant what the Saudis have done, what Turki Al-Sheikh and his team have done, getting Frank and Eddie and Ben and Calla and all of them to work together. Spencer Brown knitting it all. George Warren behind the scenes. It's brilliant. We still have competitive shows here. We've got fantastic standout shows in Riyadh, and also Riyadh season has gone on the road because they've been very smart in taking it to America and now to Wembley Stadium with amazing fights. Great trade show in LA. But you walk down the street, let's be honest, you walk down the street, you talk to your mates who just like football, and they'll watch Tyson fight or they'll watch AJ fight. They would not have heard of Terence Crawford. They wouldn't have heard of anyone on that card. We know them, and we know what a great card it was. And actually, in reality, it was one for the purists because it was quite chess matchy at times. Great lineup. But I remember before they said this is the best card that's ever been put together. They can't keep putting the best cards ever together. It's just not possible. What we have got is a great crop of fighters, especially at heavyweight, that we have, and we've got opportunities for so many different fighters who would never have got them. Who would have thought a year and a half ago we would have got Bivol and Beterbiev headlining event? Who would have thought we'd have got AJ Dubois for the IBF heavyweight title? We'd have had one Usyk Fury fight, and now we're going to get a second one. Just take that on for a minute. Then you've got everything else that goes with it. Joe Parker coming through, Zhilai Zhang, all these heavyweights. Martin Bakoli shining in LA. He was the one everyone was talking about. Suddenly Ben Shalom is one of the main guys up there now. Things can happen like an instant. Izzy wants it. He's looking at Shaq. He's Kieran Malloy. He's looking at Tiernan. He's thinking, who's going to be my one? It's fantastic what these opportunities are doing. So if we're looking at the card, is it as good as in terms of the 50-50 or 55-45 element as, say, LA? No, it's not. If you look at it and say, is the main event, in my eyes, better than the main event in LA? Yes. It's more exciting for me. Bivol Beterbiev is huge. It doesn't really need much of a card. And if we got this card a year and a half ago, you'd have been saying, wow, that's the best card ever. Because the bar has been set, the standards. So very, very difficult to keep that going. And I think unfair of criticism. And you look at why. Chris Eubank, expected.
I was going to mention that. I was going to say
come through. But Eubank Jr. has had a strange career. He's had a fantastic win in the rematch with Liam Smith. He's been touted around. He's suddenly come under, he was with the Sound. He's now come under Ben. He's had the tragedy of losing his beloved brother. He's had a tough ride, and always the pressure of being the son. All of that to take care of. The Conor Ben situation, everything else. He is so close to having a mega fight. They want to have a look at him. He's a showman. He's a great fighter. He's an intelligent guy. Let's get him on the show. That's fantastic. What they've done, Lewis, is they've used their smarts here, and they put Wardley Clarke on. Wardley Clarke, a humdinger, British heavyweight title fight, one of the great fights of the last 10, 15, 20 years at domestic level. Fine. They put it on the world stage. We love it. We preferred it in London as a standalone. Maybe the fans would have done here. Who cares? It's happening. It's in a ring and it's on a big show. Brilliant. For me, the one that's got me is the Sky Nicholson-Raven Chapman fight, because I have stood up for women's boxing since the very beginning. Maybe not the very beginning. That's maybe taking it a little bit too far. Jane Couch pestered me and told me that, why are we not showing her? And to be honest, she was amazing, but she came a little bit before her time. She set the standard, the bar. She was the pioneer. But when Katie came on, and we took it seriously when she fought Tasha Jonas at the Olympics, and Katie Taylor then turned pro in 2016, and the wave of women that followed on, the Savannah Marshalls, the Tashas, the Chantel Camerons, all of them are coming through. And now this brigade, you look at Lauren Price, and you look at Caroline and Karis, and you look at Michaela Mayer and Tasha, and you look at Sky and so many, Ellie Scotney, just too many to even think about. Sandy Ryan,
cool. Which is a good thing.
So many fighters, which is a good thing. Sky Nicholson is a brilliant advert for boxing, full stop. Not even just as a female athlete. She's fantastic. Hero, Katie Taylor. Brilliant. She's achieved what she wanted to achieve. She's become a world champion. She speaks brilliantly. She's a fantastic figurehead for boxing. She's fighting Raven Chapman, who I had the pleasure of commentating with in Saudi a few months ago, AJ Ngannou, who's a great young woman who has wanted to box for a long time and is getting her opportunity to fight for a world title. And the Saudis are putting the women's world title fight on for the first time is amazing. It's great. The changing culture is obvious since I was there in 2019, where I took a big, strong women's team with me at Sky out there. And it was tough. It was really tough. And you wind forward to 2024, where I've been talking to female executives over there who are running different parts of businesses with Seller and other operations. And I'm thinking, wow, there's a real change here. And it's brilliant that women are being taken. It's just brilliant. The women's boxing is being taken as seriously, that the finances are improving, that everything is getting better year on year. And I think it's great. And Sky said in an interview the other day that her and Raven have an opportunity here. Every time Katie's fighting Amanda Serrano, she's getting a amount of money.
It was my interview, by the way.
Huh?
It was the one you're referencing. It was when I was speaking to Sky.
Sky, exactly. That was you. So and apologies, I only saw a clip.
No, don't be silly. Don't be silly.
Face in it as well. But Sky was saying that they have this not just opportunity, they have this responsibility. Her and Raven, and Raven sees it. I speak to Raven regularly. She's the underdog, but she is right in this fight, and she will give it everything. And I think it's fantastic. So that for me is a brilliant one. You look at Wardley Clarke. I look down. Okay, I'm looking at Ben Whittaker, Liam Cameron. Ben Whittaker and Chris Eubank are on because they are showmen, because they are entertaining, because they appeal to the casuals. There's reasons. as Johnny Nelson would say, there's reasons for the madness, right?
Yeah.
Liam Cameron, what a story. We love the Tyson Fury story at the heavyweight, reborn and all that. What about Liam Cameron? Unbelievable. Yeah. The difficulties he's come through to be fighting still is, to get in a ring is miraculous. I'm so proud of him. His performance against Linda Arthur was fantastic. And why not? Why not give him an opportunity? It's brilliant. Mark Chamberlain got an opportunity. No one knew about him. Turkey's favourite fighter. Look how he's rolled with it. Look at what Joe Parker's done. Totally turned his career around. Yeah. Am I saying Liam Cameron's going to beat Ben Whittaker? No. Am I saying that he deserves this opportunity? 100%. Jack Massey, brilliant against Isaac Chamberlain. Saw him afterwards, delighted, just delighted. Got a couple of belts around him. What's he got? He's going to be fighting on a Bivol and Beterbiev card. Yeah. And not just that, he's going to be fighting Jaya Pataya, one of the pound-for-pound kings. Yeah. Why not? Why has Jack got the right to do that? Is he going to beat Jaya Pataya? It's a tough ask. But someone's going to beat Jaya Pataya at some point, and Jack Massey is going to go for it. And even if he falls short, which is probably expected, he'll earn a lot of money. His reputation will be enhanced, and we're good. Shakur Stevenson, one of the great fighters of our generation. I've had the pleasure and privilege of commentating on him up close. I think he's a wonderful, wonderful athlete. He's a fantastic fighter. He's brilliant. If he could hit it a bit harder, he'd have everything. But he is a beautiful, beautiful boxer. And Matchroom have made a standout signing there. Joe Cordina, that was the one that threw me. I'm thinking Joe Cordina, who I said to Ed would become a world champion. Yeah. The two that Ed, I think, wasn't so sure about were Kawiafai and Joe Cordina. And both became world champions because they were so dedicated. And I saw that they had that bit of quality. Joe loses to Anthony Kakache. Kakache's best performance ever. Broke him up inside out. Really tough. Would I have given Joe a fight back before something like this? Definitely. If I was in his team, 100%. But I don't know how much money he's getting. I know that as a fighter, he wants to fight the very best. I know he wants to become a world champion again. Everyone wants to become the first person to beat Shakur Stevenson. If you're offered it, it's a pretty hard fight to say no to. So is it ideal? Probably not. Is he going to win? It's a tough one. But then say that to Barry and Ben. He's got a new training team. It's a challenge. It's a very, very hard fight for him. But Joe Cordina is a talented fighter. He was a great amateur. And why not? He deserves this opportunity. He's not a monster, Shakur Stevenson. He's a very, very skillful and technically good fighter, but he's not a monster. So for that reason, Joe takes the fight. He gets a lot of money. And hopefully his reputation, even if he doesn't win, enhances from it. So you liking this so far? Fabio Wardley and Frazer Clarke. A 50-50. I mean, we couldn't split them last time. Sky Nicholson, Raven Chapman. Jaya Pataya back on the bill. Chris Eubank, Shakur Stevenson, big names and great opportunities. Is it 50-50 all the way through? No. What have you got at the top, Lewis? You've got one of the greatest fights been made in the last 5-10 years. Yeah. A fight that I cannot wait for. And I've also got all these other fighters I'm going to watch as well. I'm happy as a fan. And I think the criticism is because there's always going to be people that criticize. At Sky, we were used to it. We couldn't put everything on. Finances, difficulties, promoters. They don't want to put that person to that. They're not ready for them. Now, everyone seems ready for everybody. So while this is happening, you've got to take your opportunities because with Fabio and Frazer, yes, would it have been great at the O2 again, a full swell O2? Of course, British fight fans on the doorstep. But Fabio, now with Queensbury, Frazer with Ben at the table, all of them up there thinking, right, they're 1-2 fights away here from the real pot of gold. Because this heavyweight mix, who knows? AJ Dubois, Usyk and Fury again. What's going to happen there? Are we going to have AJ and Usyk again? Are we going to have an AJ Fury? What's going to happen when one of them goes, retires? Is Moses Atalma going to fire through against a Joe Parker? Have we got, one of the older boys, a Zhilei Zhang, a Parker himself? Will Jared Anderson come again? Will Joe Joyce come again? One defeat is not much. Daniel Dubois, 26. He could beat AJ. If he doesn't, which is expected, he'll come again. There's so many. You tell that to Daniel and Don that they're not going to beat AJ. I had Don Charles on me at the phone the other day, and by the end of it, I'm thinking, wow, maybe anybody's in trouble. I mean, these guys can, they put some good talk together, and look, they've got good fighters. Daniel Dubois and AJ, I've seen spar, and they're heavyweights. It takes one punch. Is Joshua a favourite going in? Of course he is. With the repertoire, the resume, the experience, the reconnection, the rejuvenation on the bed. Of course he's the favourite going in. Could he lose the fight? Yes, he could lose the fight. It's a heavyweight fight. It wouldn't be as big an upset as when Andy Ruiz beat AJ by any stretch of the imaginations. Daniel Dubois has come on. He's beaten, he had a great go at Usyk, the low blow, the borderline, great go against Usyk. He beat Jarrell Miller, who then looked quite good the other night against Andy Ruiz, and he's beaten Hrgovic, who everyone fancied to flatten him. So I wouldn't write Daniel Dubois off at your peril. So that's going to be first. Fury Usyk, 2025, 2026, we're going to have a huge heavyweight division. So yeah, I'm happy with this. Beterbiev, Bivol, we haven't even talked about it. I like Bivol. Right, what do you think, Lewis? Most people think Beterbiev. I'm liking Bivol.
You know what? I agree with you, Adam. I like Bivol. I've always said Bivol for a long time. I've always thought Dmitry Bivol would win, and I've always been confident. But yeah, I was just on that fight. Like I'd say that's probably, you talk about like boxing purists. That is a purist fight, and there's some sort of like, if I speak to my mates who you referenced earlier, my mates who are like into football, they don't really know either of them. That's quite sad, because there is no sort of qualms about this. This is the best versus the best, and as you say, it's one I honestly cannot wait for this fight.
But your friends and my friends didn't know Alexander Usyk.
True.
So
true.
The purists know, and maybe that's why they've got the likes of a Chris Eubank, a name on a Ben Whittaker. They've got names on the card as well to really push it. But Bivol and Beterbiev is a wonderful fight, and Beterbiev has got so much going for him. He's a fantastic fighter. I think his IQ is underrated. The people I've talked to, the opponents I've talked to, the Callum Smiths, the Callum Johnsons that have fought or been in there with Beterbiev, tell me how good he is and how tough he is. And it's always very useful to talk about those who have actually been in the ring while they're just watching from outside. Beterbiev had a wonderful amateur pedigree as well. But for me, Dmitry Bivol has got very, very few weaknesses. He's watertight. He's got a wonderful style. He's difficult to beat. If he gets into a flow, he knows how to use 12 rounds. Because he's not the biggest puncher, his boxing ability is really supreme. He's a very effective fighter, Bivol, and I think he does have more power than people think. I just don't think Beterbiev's going to walk through him, and I think if Bivol gets into a rhythm, I think Beterbiev could start struggling. I think that he's the superior boxer in this, and of course, Beterbiev could prove too strong, and if he marches him into corners and Bivol doesn't maybe have that firepower to get out of trouble, there is a potential that Beterbiev could win the fight by stoppage. But for me, it's Bivol on points, and I've liked that from the word go. Yeah. But do I see it as a 50-50? Of course, because most people I speak to think Beterbiev. There's a few that think Bivol, but it is a pick'em. It's a wonderful fight with the best fighting the best. And stylistically, could it be a chess match? Could it be an epic? We don't know. Possibly the former, but we don't know. So let's see it. Let's enjoy it. But I'm loving the card as well. And I think I understand the criticism in comparison to the other events that Turk and the team have put on. I can understand a little bit of it, that some fights look slightly lopsided. But I think we're getting too greedy. And I think that we need to remember that this period needs to last and that fighters need to be protected as well. And we need to have some shining stars continuing. Maybe the promoters are just holding back a little bit. The Eddies and the Georges Franks are saying, just wait with those. Maybe Ben Whittaker's not ready quite yet for, we don't want to, have a bad loss or something on the card just yet. On the, do you know what I'm saying? Just
of course, yeah.
So hard as a promoter to get the build, and when you let them off the leash and when they go, and for us at GBM, we saw that just recently in Coventry. We had some sort of great fights prospects come through, but we also had a defeat, our home fighter. Yeah, exactly, and I think that sometimes it happens, and it's there can be devastation. They can come back from it. but you have to be careful. You also have to know the characters, because one defeat is nothing in boxing, as we know. Bernard Hopkins lost his professional debut. Johnny lost his first 3 professional fights. A defeat is nothing. It's how you come back from defeat. The Niall Berry had a bad night, and well, he had a good night until the last couple of rounds, but he had a bad night in terms of he lost his unbeaten record. Is it the end for him? No, of course not. But do we have to, think about putting these 50-50s or these 55-45 fights onto for the fans? Of course, the fans are paying their money. We want to see the best fights, but we've also, as promoters, as broadcasters, we've got to be slightly careful as well. And I think what Turkey has done is given us fantasy, the fantasy that's become reality. And maybe this October 12th card is a little pinch of reality to say, okay, and we got to just slow this down slightly. We can't have every single sweet in the shop available at all times. It doesn't quite work like that. So I'm not disappointed at all by the card. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to a wonderful autumn and winter. I think it's going to be stacked with boxing, not just the big Saudi events, but plenty of other great domestic action. Our own shows at GBM, of course, but I know Kyle Davis is fighting the next night, September the 28th, on a little show in Nottingham. Look out for these pearlers that are coming through. Our Sophie Alish at Summit, she'll be on soon, the Router as well. So we're going to have a busy autumn at Summit too, as our fighters get going. And Wasserman, Boxer, Queensbury, and of course Matchroom have lots of shows outside of Riyadh season 2. So I think after September 21st, it's going to be go, go, go. So I think not sure if I should tell the family I'm going to be away most weekends. That's the thing. It looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Just before I do let you go, Adam, actually, there's one sort of question I did want to ask you about. Because the meeting is slightly running out. But yeah, one thing I actually wanted to ask you on 21st September. The whole narrative does seem to be about Daniel Dubois almost turning the corner under Don Charles. But do you think that there's like a fair observation to make with some people to say that we are yet to see that because he hasn't faced like the elite world level of competition? So where this corner being turned, where he's sort of I guess he's now got Hart and that. Is it fair to say that we aren't too sure yet because he hasn't faced someone of the top elite like an Usyk or a Joyce at the time?
I think that's a good question, but I think Don Charles would rip you to pieces for that question, because they believe they beat Usyk, and he didn't. He lost the fight, but they believe that he should have won it before he lost it. So they believe they dealt with a situation like that in front of a hostile crowd in a big stadium. Then they went and did Jarrell Miller in front of Turkey Al-Sheikh, who absolutely loved that. Probably the underdog in that fight, certainly the underdog against Hrgovic. I think the way that Daniel's come back after the difficult night that he had with Joe Joyce has been brilliant. And I think that Don is always known as a heavyweight trainer, and most people see him as a sort of physical trainer, but he's very smart as well. And I think he's got psychologically into Daniel. I think that he feels still very underrated still what he's done, the Southern Area champions, the British champions, all of the fighters that he's brought through. And I think that, he believes that you're starting to really see that come out. I think he feels they're a winning team. Has Daniel proved it? Okay, take the Usyk fight aside. No, he hasn't. AJ has a better resume. Of course he does. He has the experience of fighting the big fights, the Klitschko's, the undisputed, or the unified fight against Joe Parker. Undisputed, not yet, maybe one day, but the unified fight against Joe Parker at Cardiff. He's fought a couple of times at Cardiff. He's fought at Wembley, of course, against Povetkin too. These big arenas, these big stages. The pressure on him coming back, the 2 fights with Usyk, of course, he has the experience, the knowledge, the proven qualities. But Daniel, we haven't seen it. Daniel's 26. So, yes, I guess this is the big test for him. I guess that the one thing I'm hoping is that Ben Davison thinks he's got nothing to lose. And they think he has got something to lose, the other side, because he's got a belt. He's the world champion. I hope that they've got him absolutely right. And I think they do, that he'll go in there and he'll absolutely deliver what he can deliver. He hopefully doesn't see that Wembley Stadium and think, wow, get a little bit dazed in the lights. I think Richie Riakporhe that happened to at Selhurst Park a bit. I'm hoping Daniel doesn't happen to. But this is the big test. He hasn't proven it yet. Has he got a chance? Of course he does. Is AJ favourite? Yes. But I'll tell you what, I think people that are writing Dubois off are wrong. He's got a chance in this fight. He's shared a ring with Joshua before. and he's 26 and he believes in himself now. Is he good enough? We'll find out.
Absolutely. Well, just before this meeting does end, Adam, as always, a real pleasure to speak to you, mate. And yeah, thank you for the time as always, mate. Really do appreciate catching up with you, mate. Top man.
Cheers, Lewis.